Hello Year 9. Now continuing from our last lesson where we produced our first hand observational line drawing of our objects related to our theme of identity, we or you should have by now have a line drawing, okay, a simple outline drawing of a piece of footwear that represents you. So carrying on from last lesson, what we're going to do this lesson, we are going to actually now take time, refine our drawing and apply our details and tones. Alright, so first off, the materials we're going to need: pencil and a rubber, our drawing from last lesson, and obviously our subject. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to start refining our outlines and applying some of our details. Now, last lesson I said that it's very important that you concentrate and draw in all of the little details that you can see. All of these key characteristics is what's going to make your trainer or your piece of footwear look the way it's supposed to. It will make your drawing a lot more successful. Let's use our rubber lightly, or about our sketch lines. Okay, light pressure. Not taking away the body of the drawing, just rubbing out our sketch lines, making it a bit more cleaner. Going back to refining our outlines, again looking very carefully at the swoop of your shapes, varying the pressure of your pencil, until you get the desired line that you want. Putting all of the little details that you can see, looking at the actual direction that they actually go as well. That's very important. It's not going to put in lines just sporadically. You have to put the details how you see it as best as you can. And looking at every little detail, this little lip there, as I'm drawing this, the thread that comes across, the edge of this area I'm going to put in, okay, and this will help us for when we have to put our tones on later. So continuously looking and re-looking and refining our shapes, making sure that all of the little shapes that we can see we apply these shapes to our drawing. Now, because I'm looking much closer, I'm actually moving and holding the trainer and looking at it very close. You can, as I said, put the trainer down in front of you, but for this drawing I'm holding my trainer and I'm drawing it from the side so you can see more or less what it is I'm doing. Let's take out that smudge hole from last lesson. It's actually just a little piece of thread that's loose. We have double stitching here, so we're going to do our double stitching very carefully. Now this will take some time, okay, to put in all of your details, all of your design lines that you're going to put in. If you notice, they're not hard, definite lines, so you're going to have to be very careful, varying the pressure of your pencil to put these lines in. Soft at first, and then once you've done that, then you can start building up to the desired tone. Looking at little things like that, for example, that little shadow there that we're going to put in as well, the little shadow. Move the trainer so you can see what I'm doing. All these interesting details, for example, on the lace. You can see the lace is a bit curved over, so I'm going to put that in. All these little things that make your drawing a bit more special and interesting to look at. So we're going to refine this drawing and put in all our details. Now this is going to take me some time, so I'm going to jump ahead, okay, and show you how to start applying some of your tones. Now, it's difficult because as this is a white trainer, it is hard for those of you that are not used to drawing and applying tone to just, well, it's a white trainer, I'm just going to leave it white. But we can see carefully, if we put it aside, that there are changes in tone, subtle changes in tone that gives your drawing, gives your trainer its 3D shape. Okay, and it's those subtle changes in tone that we have to show. Alright, but before we do that, we identify any dark tonal areas. Now this is going to be difficult because, as I said before, this is a white trainer, but we can see that it's a bit darker where the lace is here. Okay, the shadow underneath the lace, just a bit where the lace is there as well. That's what give the drawing, your trainer, a little bit of depth and weight by putting in these shadows. We can see a little bit of a shadow on the edge of the perforated, where the perforated part of the trainer meets the leather molded part of the trainer. You can see a little bit of shadow there. Now it's not as dark as that, so I know that because I'm continuously looking, so I'm going to have to do it a little bit more subtly. Alright, start putting in our different grades of tone. Now, being this is a white trainer with any object, is very difficult to identify where the different contrasts and grades of tone are. So a trick is to, when you're looking at your object, what you will do is you will look carefully at your object and you will squint your eyes, okay? Because what this does, it stops excess light from going into your eyes, and it transforms the subject that you're looking at into more, you can see and identify the more contrasting and subtle tones. It's easier to see when you squint where it's very dark, contrast to where it's very light. Okay, so you will squint, identify the tones, and I can see it's a bit darker here. So I'm going to put in, my tones here. And as you can see, I'm doing it very, very light with a pencil. And you can use any type of mark making. You can use crosshatch, you can use scumbling, okay, or you can use directional shading. Any type of mark making that you think, and I like to use a mixture of scumbling and directional shading, doing it soft and building up as I progress, building up as I progress. Now we can see that as it curves here, it's darker here because I'm squinting my eyes and I'm looking very, very carefully, and I'm building up my tone as I progress. Now you'll do this at the same time as you are applying your fine details, because the more you look and the more you draw, the more that you will see. And you will make those changes as you progress. So I'm building up my subtle tones. Okay, I can actually see that it's dark here, and then it's contrasted to a very light part here. So how am I going to achieve that? And the way I achieve that is it goes from light to dark to light again. So it goes from light to dark. We've got this tonal part here, and then it goes light again, and then these lines, or the area for these lines, actually start. And continue across. Now, you may be tempted to smudge and blend with your finger, alright? I do not advise you do that, because the oils from your fingers can actually stain your drawing. So, if you need to blend, you can use a blending tool, a blending stick, just like this, which is excellent for putting in our subtle tones. I really like these blended sticks. Okay, put in our subtle tones, or if you haven't got a blended stick, you can actually just take a piece of tissue, fold it so that you've got a corner, and twist it to a point. And we say to twist it to a point so that you've got that actual sharp point to blend and travel into small areas. Now, twist it, and you can secure it with some tape just to keep the shape. And there you go, homemade blending tool. Okay, so you can use this to actually move your tones around and create your subtle tones that you see on your trainer. Again, going back in, refining shapes that you see, refining the shapes that you see, applying your fine details, all of this stitching that I can see, applying your little shadows, which would make this swoosh sign stand out a little bit more. And all of these things will come together to create the drawing that you want. So it's continuously refining, checking, and applying the tones how we see it. Our subtle tones and details. Okay, all of our subtle outlines. So let's continue applying some tone to where we can see it, how it's much darker here, contrasting to this light area. So I'm going to use my directional shading and scumbling technique. Now all scumbling is, it's just either drawing circles and building up, or drawing figure of eights and building up. Alright, that's what scumbling is, and just building up your tones and texture. Now as I said, I prefer to use directional shading and a little bit of a mixture of scumbling on top of it to build up my tones. And as you can see, the more I apply pressure, the more layers I apply, the darker the tone gets. Alright, and this allows me to build up my tones very slowly. Okay, so I'm looking very, very carefully now, and I'm building up my tones as I progress. Where the main body of the trainer meets a moulded area, and it looks like there's almost a definite line there, and then there is tone here. All of these little tonal variations and details which makes the trainer what it is. Right, now this is from a simple white trainer. What if you're drawing from a different direction? Now this was one I've done earlier, another sketch, an outline sketch. Obviously the trainer's been moved a lot since then, so it's not exactly the same, but you get the right idea, because it still allows me to look very carefully and identify the tones. So we're using this as an example. What if your footwear has darker tones? So once again, we look very carefully and we identify the darkest areas that we can see, and the darkest areas that I can see are, for example, in the tongue here, the shadow from the tongue to the sole, the inner sole. That's one of the darkest areas I can see. The shadow inside, just inside the shoe, just right here. That's one of the darkest areas that I can see. Okay. The shadows underneath the laces. There's some very dark areas I can see. So I'm applying my darkest tones first. My darkest tones first. Those are the things that I'm applying. And then once I've done that, there's a few more dark tones I need to see, but I'm going to push ahead just to show you. Once I've done that, then I'm going to start on my base tones, and again, looking very, very carefully, apply my tone, being very careful with my pressure, and building it up as I see fit. Where the tone changes, for example, just underneath the lace here, it's going to get a little bit darker. I'm going to show that by applying a different grade of tone, as you can see. Okay, a different grade of tone. So we're very mindful of where our tones change, where our texture changes, where our lights and details change as well. All these little perforated parts of the trainer we're going to put in. All the shading, the subtle shading that's going to go around the rim of the trainer right here, and how it's contrast against the inner sole of the trainer, building that tone up. Okay, working our way across, looking very, very carefully at the trainer. We notice that this is a light part, almost like a highlight, that stands out. Okay, so we're going to apply a darker tone here, building it up softly. I'm not going to rush it, we're going to look very, very carefully, softly where we see it, and we're going to apply our other tone here as well, softly, and this will make this area here stand out. We look very carefully at the changes in tone. We notice, if we look and squint our eyes, that this is a little bit darker than that. So we apply it how we see it, showing our different grades of tone. And this is important. Now, you're going to continue with your trainer or your shoe from whatever angle, and you're going to continue to completion. You're going to photograph your work, and you're going to upload it to class charts for me, your teacher, to see and mark your progression. Continue applying some more tones, again building it up, changing the density as we go around the shoe, and increasing it where I see that it gets a little bit darker, building up the layers a bit more. We can use our blending tool as well to smooth it out and apply our tone in hard to reach areas. Once you get used to using blending tools, you'll actually think, how did I do without it? Softly building up tones, layers upon layers, continuously looking at what we are doing. Okay, year 9, I'm going to try and have this completed for next lesson to show you, and you're going to upload your drawings and show me. Okay, until next time, thank you, year 9.